Welcome to Humanity, the Standard, the channel dedicated to Manual for Humanity, a book written in hopes of making humans humane again. On the morning after the 2024 presidential election, I woke up feeling completely disoriented. It took me to the border of hopelessness, a place where I genuinely struggled to see the redemptive potential in this country. For months, I watched the breaking news, and with every update, my spirits sunk lower, until finally I had to turn the TV off and look within. In that quiet, inside all the turmoil, I realized we didn't just need political answers, we needed a restructuring of a fractured society. Look, as someone who's watched decades of political cycles, I knew this one was different. I'd peeped the difference since 2016. So with this election, it was increasingly evident that at the very core, more than what was happening, so much was not happening. I saw what wasn't present. Simply humanity. In the midst of wrestling with the turmoil, I realized I had to get my thoughts out, recording what was happening within my spirit as the spirit of America collapsed around me. That is why I wrote Manual for Humanity, and that is why we're here, to find our way back. Before we talk about what is wrong, it helps to understand what was already present, not to assign blame, but to avoid repeating mistakes we never named. In medicine, family history doesn't determine destiny, it identifies risk. It tells doctors what to watch for, not who to blame. A predisposition is not a verdict, it is context, a way of understanding why certain patterns emerge and why some conditions require greater care. Societies, like people, inherit conditions, not intentions, not guilt, but structures, beliefs, and systems that outlive the individuals who created them. These conditions shape what becomes possible, what feels normal, and what goes unnoticed for generations. The United States was formed through continental conquest. That history produced an architecture of hierarchy, systems designed to rank human value, distribute power unequally, and normalize dominance as order. Some people entered this system by choice, as settlers. Others entered through force, as the enslaved. And others were already here, only to be displaced, confined, or erased. When the conquest ended, the conditions it created did not. What remained were unequal starting positions, inherited advantage for some, inherited constraints for others, and a collective misdiagnosis, the belief that hierarchy was harmony, that order required inequality, that stability depended on dominance. These ideas became embedded not only in institutions, but in expectations about who belongs, who leads, who's presumed capable, and who must prove themselves. Over time, the legal equality challenged these structures. Another misdiagnosis emerged, though. The disruption of hierarchy was experienced by some not as correction, but as loss. Equality was mistaken for harm. Shared rules were mistaken for displacement, and long overdue redistribution of dignity felt, to those accustomed to automatic preference, like injustice. Diversity is one of the greatest capacities of a society. Difference creates the possibility of expanded perspective, shared creativity, and collective intelligence beyond what any single culture or identity could produce alone. America emerged with the conditions for one of the most diverse societies ever, but difference also became the raw material through which its hierarchy was constructed, not because diversity demanded it, but because power responded to difference with ranking instead of reciprocity. What might have been a strength was converted into a system of comparison, fear, control. The problem was never that people were different. The problem was that difference was managed through dominance rather than dignity. This book does not treat diversity as the problem. It treats misunderstanding as the problem. America's conflicts are not the result of diversity itself, but of a society built through continental conquest that mistook hierarchy for harmony and later mistook equality for loss. This is not a historical argument. It is a diagnostic one. It does not explain every outcome, but it clarifies the underlying condition that makes certain conflicts predictable, persistent, and resistant to simple solutions. Understanding this predisposition does not assign personal blame, but it does remove innocence from denial. It tells us that what we are dealing with is not a series of isolated failures, but an inherited system still operating beneath the surface of modern life. What follows is not an accusation, it is an examination. Not of who we are supposed to be, but of the conditions we've been living with, shaped by the systems we've been under. Manual for Humanity is available now on Amazon. Join this journey. Like, comment, share, and subscribe for readings that lay the framework for saving a nation that impacts the world. Next reading, the diagnosis continues with the introduction, Examining a Failing Humanity. Diagnosis, Trump. The moral vacuum of wealth and power. The breakdown of collective responsibility. Restructuring the moral center of society. Reclaiming us, as in the U.S. The prescription. Proposal for a Charter of Humane Conduct and Constitution of a Humane Nation. The record of our affliction. The cure, love. The work of repair. Waking up tired. And finally, I included an epilogue. See you soon for the next reading.